Hi, everyone. Welcome to our new LinkedIn Live series, ADHD in the Workplace. I created this series because I recognize that living with ADHD can present challenges in the world of work. And I hope that we can generate ideas to support adults with ADHD to utilize their strengths. And who better to listen to strategies than ADHDers themselves? So I'm your host, Samantha Hugh, the director of ADHD Girls, a company with a social mission to empower girls and women with ADHD through advocacy, education, and specialist insights. We have a very dynamic woman on our LinkedIn Live today, Nicola Jane Little, who is the founder of Mint Business Club, a membership club offering support community, business marketing training and mentoring for solo or micro business owners. And she builds communities where people flourish. Our topic today is ADHD and entrepreneurs' superpower. Thank you, Nicola, for joining me. So nice to have you.
So thrilled. I'm like so excited. I'm trying to sit still, Sam. I'm trying to sit still.
Well, you don't have to sit still. We can sit and move, like it's pretty insightful. But yeah, so I'm really interested in your journey because I find with everyone with ADHD, we tend to have a very interesting job or career path, and is like no exception for you as well. So can you tell me your journey from being in permanent employment to entrepreneurship? Because I know that's quite a way back, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, like many of us ADHDers, we tend to jump around. I was trying to count how many jobs I'd had in my 20s. And when I got to 9 or 10, I stopped because I've jumped all over the place. I know. It's just like, isn't it? Right. So, I've done everything from recruitment. I was a school teacher, a Senko over here, looking after kids with SEN. I've worked in sales and marketing. I've sold shoes. I've sold hamburgers. I mean, honestly, nuts and bolts, paint, the list goes on and on and on. When I left teaching 13 years ago, I wanted to work for myself. I felt like I was unemployable, and that will come up. And with all the people that we talk to, we feel unemployable. I didn't know why. I knew I was in the middle of that, of course, because I take responsibility for myself, and I was always in a bit of a pickle. And so I left on impulse. It was quite a big impulse. I had a lush job, safe job that could have taken me to be a head teacher. But I just couldn't. I couldn't, and I didn't have the words either for why I couldn't. So I just left and started an online women's magazine, as you do, with an environmentally friendly slant. And then subsequently, it's been 13 years, and I think I am on to business number 5.
Oh, and completely relate with job hopping. Myself, I've been in 16 work industries. So you counted that in hindsight rather than as and when I jumped from one path to another. And you have managed to create your own unique place in the world of work, and that is quite a success from every angle, ADHD or not. It must take so much tenacity, grit, and just the ability to think of new ideas that will be marketable and susceptible to and people want to be part of it. So this is no mean feat, Nicola. It's like really, really proud and amazed by what you have done.
Thank you.
Can you tell me about your ADHD diagnosis journey?
Gosh, it's really recent. I mean, really recent, as in like last year. So I got to 45-year-old, female, just, getting through my life as you do, with all the highs and lows that you just expect out of your life. And I read a post on social media. So I've been a digital trainer for about a decade, and I love digital. Okay, I'm really super pleased we're doing this on LinkedIn. It's super, right? Because it does and can connect us in ways that sometimes you cannot have in other ways. All right. So I was reading this post by a lady who I really admire. She's in a similar industry to me. She runs a membership club. She was an ex-teacher. She's a real live wire. She was amazing. Like, she is amazing.
By any chance?
Janet Murray.
Same person I went from.
Janet Murray, yeah. So honestly, I followed Janet for years. I've always struggled to have proper role models. I've always wanted some really strong female role models, and I just didn't ever find them. And then there was Janet doing her thing. And I was at that time a digital trainer. So I started buying, her planners. I was going to her training, the whole lot. And then one day she just put this post out that said, I've got an ADHD diagnosis, and this is the list of things that come with that. And I mean, 20 seconds later, and my life had changed, because you could have just taken her name out of each bit of that post and put mine in. It was like she'd written my life, my life story, including the teaching and all the other stuff. And I'm like going, wow. I was a Senko, I was a school teacher, I worked with kids with SEN, and I never, ever thought that was me. I understood I had relationships with kids. I understood that I saw the kids differently. Like the kids who were struggled, like were my kids. I've always said that. My kids, I knew I had an affinity for them and empathy for them. Did I think I had ADHD as a female? Absolutely not. Not for a single second. And then I read this post, and that was it, right? Your life, my life changed overnight, over seconds. I'd done about 4 assessments online by the next hour. So that was it. It was like, right, where do I go? I'll start doing these online assessments. Scored really highly on all of them, like off the chart. And I was like thinking, oh, wow. Wow. And then 3 months later, so this was October last year, 13 months ago, I was diagnosed within, and that was it. So summer last year, had my diagnosis mid-October. And then, of course, with all of that relief that you get that, and you suddenly have all the answers you don't at all. And so starts the next part of your journey, trying to unpick and accept and consider the enormity of what's been told to you.
Yeah, well, it's the ADHD grief cycle, isn't it? Like you go through various stages of grieving for the life you could have had.
Yeah.
And eventually coming to acceptance. It is a process. And how interesting that we share the same source, and
I didn't realize. So did you see Janet's post as well?
Yeah, I actually attended one of her live workshop in person. I've been following her for years. But unlike you, I was quite slow on the uptake. What the post did for me was plant the seed, but then it took me several months just thinking about it and then, just working it out. And I just think, there's something ADHD about my history. And then it was not only until I really want to make a go at making a documentary about ADHD in women that I thought, okay, this is really me. And I was actually very actively pursuing a diagnosis then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, related to everything she said, and I wonder if you related to the bit where you had many boyfriends in the past.
Not so much.
No, we won't talk about it.
Well, quite a few, but not so much. But yes, I think the destruction of past relationships, is that right? I think just the swapping about, it was everything. Like literally, there wasn't a thing on the list that I didn't identify with. It was extraordinary to read a post that was so personal and heartfelt about another female's experience, to then go, oh, that is literally me you're writing about.
Yeah.
And then that thing that happens where you're like, oh, really? Honestly? Really, is this me? And the shock and joy, because for me it was shock and joy at the same time. I just finally went, oh my God, that's it. That's what the last sort of 30 years have been about.
Yeah. And also I noticed at the time in 2020, there was hardly anything about ADHD in women in the media.
Yeah.
There was nothing. When I looked on the BBC, it was a video of a naughty boy, and it just kept perpetuating the stigma of the naughty white boy, in the class or jumping out the window. But where are the women? But yeah, BBC published a few articles 2 or 3 weeks ago talking about ADHD in women, and then a film.
Yeah.
So
the awareness month. I don't know whether it's because, when you buy a car and you see everybody else with the same car, right? I don't know whether it's, you find out about yourself, and then what you do is you chuck yourself into that environment, if you're like me, and you go and try and find out, and you find out stuff and all the rest of it. And all of a sudden I was looking and finding, but the ADHD awareness month that has just been in October, there was so much about females. There was so much about middle-aged women like me who have been missed, right? Just completely missed. And there are so many of us. It is absolutely unbelievable. And then, I don't know about you, but when you started writing stuff down and sharing your journey and doing that, did you find that a lot of the people around you started going, what? I identify with this. This is me. Like my friends of years ago. Nick, honestly, you're writing about me. Mind blowing, isn't it?
Well, exactly, right? And that's why we didn't think anything was wrong or amiss, because
Yes.
we were hanging around people who were so much like us. And like you, I talk a lot about ADHD when I go to my commercial shoots, and a lot of the models and actors I know, they fully relate to it, and they think, "Oh, is that me? Or maybe that's what I have." And maybe everyone has a bit of neurodiversity within them. Who is normal? Who has a quiet brain?
What is normal? Like
What is normal?
what is normal? Who decided on that word anyway? Because of course neurodiverse means we're all different. Like the brain, I was doing all the reading, and it was very much a social justice movement, because we're all diverse. Every single brain is different. Ours are just a little bit busier, I think, as I found out, right? I sat with someone the other day, it was brilliant. I was doing a business boot camp, and someone said something like, and when I work, I just think about one thing, right? And there's two of us just went, yeah, just think about one thing. How? How is that even possible?
Hilarious. It's
Right.
funny. One of my LinkedIn contacts, actually, one of the women I interviewed, she's writing a presentation at the moment, and she's asking people suggestions for what are the language around neurodiversity that you wish would change. And I said I didn't want to be known as a neurominority, and I didn't want ADHD to be known as a disease or a disorder, because it's a way of being. It's a diversity of our mind. And someone responded saying, well, neuro accelerated, neuro advanced, and I said neuro brilliant. That is
Neuro accelerated. Oh
just
my gosh. Love that, mind. Because it is that. So I started, I launched a social enterprise 2 or 3 weeks ago with my current business partner, Paul. He's absolutely awesome, quite like me, maybe a little bit too like me. Anyway, so we just decided that at the end of the day, so many people in our business club, so many people who are starting to resonate with my story, we would like to make a difference. The research I'm looking at, it shows that in the workplace, ADHD is one of the least understood I don't know, neurodivergent, whatever you want to call it, and we are more likely to be in bother. We are less likely to get work. We are less likely to have reasonable adjustments. We are more likely to really struggle. And yet, I think neurodivergent people who are on fire can produce amazing. Like, look at what you're doing, right? Look at what I've done. When we're on, like, there's nobody like us, but without those reasonable adjustments, without people understanding in the workplace, and that's for any disability or not disability. We just need to understand each other. So we launched Celebrate Difference. It's a social enterprise. It is there to help people with ADHD get work, stay in work, become self-employed. Because like you, what else am I going to do with this knowledge? There's only helping others, isn't there now?
Exactly, Nicola. It sounds like what we do are quite aligned as well. Definitely would like to actually speak to you about it, because I also want to help individuals with ADHD in the world of work, because we suffer the social economic impact of undiagnosed and untreated ADHD and unsupported ADHD, and really hoping that by doing what we do, we'll actually gain the attention of business settings, SMEs, organizations, to understand that, just because you have ADHD doesn't mean that you can't do the work. A lot of us can do it really extremely well, and we are twice exceptional. We are brilliant, but at the same time, we might have some executive functioning skills that might, get in the way, but really with a bit of support. And when you support people with ADHD or neurodiverse, you help people who are neuro majority or neuro whatever.
Yeah, neurotypical. I mean, that's just not even any better, is it?
Yeah, I don't want to use that word, because I don't believe that there is a neurotypical. I believe that maybe some people are just better at working the system. Right?
Yeah, and when I look at it, I hate this because we've become a list of deficits. So if I look at my list of deficits, and that's what people see, you're right, the naughty 7-year-old lad that's jumping around the classroom and can't sit still. We've become a list of deficits, and we're not. So celebrate difference is about actually celebrating difference and not being a list of deficits. However, a lot of them are so easy to be accounted for, right? So for me, I work really well if someone's sitting next to us. And I have, but it needs to be quiet. But if I go in full tilt, I'm loud, I'll disrupt people. But if there are tasks that I don't want to do and someone is there, then I can work through those tasks. It might take a bit longer and it might be a bit troublesome and it's probably not going to be perfect. But if there's a person near us, then I'll be able to attend much better. And that is called body doubling, as I found out, right? So, and how easy is that? How easy is that to help me really perform well? Because for some of my tasks, I need people around. So for some of the tasks, I'll put my headphones on. And because I need the noise cancelled. And that's okay. What is wrong with that? But in some organizations, of course, if you sat with your headphones on, cancelling the noise out, it could be interpreted in so many different ways. But it's a conversation, isn't it? It's a conversation to say, I will perform better if I've put my headphones on, leave us alone, let us just get on with it. And by the way, in the 2 hours I've got, I'll do 3 times as much as what you will expect. Because when I'm hyper-focused and I'm on it, productivity through the roof. So trying to change the narrative from a list of deficits to actually, this is all the great positive stuff. This is the reasonable adjustment over here. Now then, what are you going to get out of someone like us? Like for any organization, why would you not want us there?
Well, exactly. And this brings me very well to the next question is you have a lot of experience helping entrepreneurs in the last decade or so. What are the common ADHD strengths that you've come across, that really helps someone with ADHD in entrepreneurship?
Okay, so for all of the time that I've worked with hundreds, thousands of small businesses. Most of them are self-employed. Okay, so the commonality, way before I knew about ADHD, that commonality in their passion and their resilience and their determination is just extraordinary. Because of course, maybe we've come out of work for whatever reason, and then you've set up on your own, and you have to make that work, right? Because eventually you've got to pay yourself. You believe in what you do, absolutely. You love what you do. You're willing to put extra time in. You're willing to do whatever it takes. It is such a personal journey, and that personal determination is extraordinary. And I see it every minute of every day, the resilience that people have, and especially last year when the world comes crashing around, people who work for themselves and have that resilience or that determination will find a way. They will find a way to change, to adapt, to make things better. As it happens, a lot of the people, and I do mean about 30 or 40% of the people I've worked with, are now identifying as neurodiverse. So I've got this group with a couple of hundred people in who are self-employed in Mint Business Club. And I have my other group, and like a third of those, Sam, have come over from there into there. So all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, how many of our members are actually now starting to either self-identify or are neurodivergent, But their power is in them. So their ability to really market themselves, to be personal, to be authentic, to drive themselves forward. And when you're by yourself, if you have a community, which is what I do, I build communities, then all of a sudden you've got a support network that can really push you through your really challenging days. They're just extraordinary people. I love them to bits. Minties, if you're listening, I love you to bits, I do, but they don't give up, and they're not scared to ask, right? So in our community, there is nothing that isn't asked. Honest, some of the questions sometimes I'll be like, but then there's always someone to answer, right? So if you're really struggling on that day and you're not afraid to ask, someone will answer for you. And that's lush because it's continuous learning, building, continuous learning. But that passion, man, honestly, that passion for what they believe in is just extraordinary. And that's superpowers, whether you're ADHD or not. When you run your own business, you are in charge. You have to do everything. And that's hard work. It's not at all similar to being employed, at all.
Yeah, it's very, very hard, like both ways actually. It's not easy. Like even though being an entrepreneur comes easy to people with ADHD because they're just bursting with ideas and they're able to spot creative solutions,
Yes.
inside
Yeah.
problems, and they
Yeah.
can innovate and then they can chop and change, which quite suits them. But in order to do that, like you need scaffolding. And I
Yes.
feel like that's what Mint Business Club is so good. You offer
Thank
the structure, the training, the mentoring, and the connection to thrive.
It's that connection, isn't it? But also those foundations, that scaffolding. At the end of the day, whoever you are, you have to have some stuff in place to run a business. You have to have your products or your service. You have to have your business bank account set up, right? You have to have those processes that lead through marketing into sales. When you've got your clients, you have to serve them and look after them. And then maybe you're faced with growth and you're like, oh gosh, now it's all changing again. There's a basic set of processes and principles we work through. And actually, some of that's really difficult for ADHD is because it's about process. It's about the boring stuff, perhaps, that maybe we're not attuned to because we're so ideas driven and you're bouncing around with a million ideas. Actually, have you remembered to send the invoice? Right? Have you set the business bank account up to send the invoice? Do you know, there's there is a lot that we struggle with. But if
Yeah.
you've got that scaffolding in place, that's all. I guess Mint is just about reasonable adjustment, isn't it? It's like you put what you get the scaffolding in place so you can thrive. So you can thrive.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like we need that extra bit of something, to help us because
Yeah.
I find like it's very difficult to do it alone, and that's why it's great you're helping people who are on their own as well, like for solo business owners. And can you tell me the type of support that people tend to appreciate when they're ADHD or neurodiverse,
Um,
in the business structure? I know you mentioned some of the adjustments already. Is that kind of like anything in particular around mindset
I
and mental?
think that's the piece. I think that when you feel like you're different and you don't understand that difference, then your mindset can be negative, right? So you're fighting every minute of every day to fit into a world that is constructed perhaps not for us.
Yeah.
And so, apart from being utterly exhausted all the time, because I don't know about you, but there are days where I'm so exhausted, just trying to fit in
Yeah.
exhausts you. So your mindset in your business, who you are, how you see yourself, the boundaries that we may or may not have in place to protect ourselves, the time management that we may or may not have in place. So the stuff that comes up is how do I manage my time? How do I look after myself and my well-being in my business? How do I fit everything in, even though I've got all this energy? If I'm shattered 2 days later, how do I fit it all in? And I think the well-being piece is massive because our well-being full stop is massive, right? And it's great that we talk about mental health now, isn't it, to the level that we do. But in entrepreneurship, of course, if you're the only person in your business and everything relies on you, then you've got to be on all of the time. But we can't. We just
Yeah.
can't be on all of the time. And then the pressures of how we perceive stuff that's happening elsewhere. That whole, I'll just watch 3 million Instagram accounts and I'll feel rubbish because I'm not doing as well as them. And our perception of them. Oh, we talk about it all the time. Just stop
Yeah.
watching, right? Just stop watching. Yeah.
It's really hard. Yeah, I mean, I coached some women with ADHD around communication, communicating their value last year, and actually find that is a central theme as well in comparison.
Yeah.
Looking at what someone has already curated very carefully, and maybe it is the business that they've been working on for the last however many years, and then seeing that as our starting point is such a difficult endeavor, especially for someone with ADHD who has difficulty chunking down to little details anyway. So they
Yeah.
only see this picture and then they have analysis paralysis and
Uh,
this kicks in and they can't even move, right?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have a victim of that as well myself.
Yeah.
So
We all are. We all
mm,
are. ADHD or not, we all are. But we call it comparatinitis. You've got comparatinitis. Stop it. Stop comparing. I mean, how do we compare someone like, how do I compare myself to all those people out there? But we do it. We do it as a human trait. But with ADHD, of course, you have problems with self-perception. You've got your rejection sensitivity built in. And then you've got All of that. And then you're perceiving what other people, as you rightly say, are curating. They could be in their pajamas having the worst day of their life, and a post has gone out that tells a totally different story. And remembering that, always remembering that what you're seeing isn't necessarily what's going on behind the scenes. It's really, really important. But I do it. It's a constant struggle, isn't it, not to look at that person and go, they're doing so much better than me, or they're doing this thing and I must try that. The whole, they're doing that, so I've got to have a go. That impulsive desire to change where your journey is taking you because someone else has gone off over there. We've got no idea what their drivers are anyway. So wherever they're going is not our journey. And we must try and hold on to that. It's hard. It's hard work.
Yeah, I see. Like, that's why it's so important to hold on to your vision.
Yeah.
What is it that you want to do, right? And then check back on that, and not like just get swayed just because something else is popular at the moment. I completely resonate with this mental health as aspect, because like you say, people with ADHD have like more self-doubt, and I think part of it is because we're diagnosed later in life too. And as women, without ADHD, we are more likely to have mental health disorders anyway. And if you add ADHD into it, the negative overthinking loop, can really cause problems in life, and to take up space, because we'd rather hide, than to put ourselves in front of the world. But come on, everyone's doing it, so why not us? If not, then who, right? If not, then when?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, if we're not okay, your business is not going to work. Like, I think a lot of the business entrepreneurial language just makes things so complicated. And I don't know about you, but I like things simple. So if I am unwell, my business won't run. When I'm by myself, right? So therefore, I have to look after myself, because I can't achieve my business vision if I am unwell every day, every week, and I cannot manage, right? So we look at our well-being, we think about the stuff in our business that we can and can't manage. We bring other people in to support us. So right now I've got a team. I'm very blessed. I've got a team. There's 6 of us. If I need to take a couple of hours out because I'm overwhelmed or just absolutely shattered or whatever, the team steps in and they just get on with their stuff. And I'm very blessed with that. But when I was by myself, there are days that I've turned up and delivered training where I've been sick. I've vomited before I've walked through the door. I'm up a height. I am not able to cope in that moment. Something has triggered something, and I'll be vomiting in the toilet, and within 2 minutes turn around, and then I'm delivering training in front of 20 or 30 people. That's happened over and over again, because I was not aware of my burnout and my levels, and I just keep pushing forward. You just keep going, because there's only me. There's only me in my business to do that. Nobody else could step in that 5-minute spot and do my training. And actually, when I think about that really was impactful in my ability to run some of my businesses. The failures I've got revolve around me and my mental health, because I wasn't okay.
Yeah. Well,
exactly. It's not hard, is it? It's quite easy.
We're human. Yeah, we're human. We're not supposed to be okay all of the time. But like with work, and when you're fronting a business, you're expected to deliver at all times, and that can really cause a lot of stress. And not just for businesses, but also when we go into the workplace. A lot of people have anxiety about keeping their jobs, because of the struggles that they have that they can't tell people. So, I mean, thank you so much for such amazing insights, into the world of entrepreneurship and ADHD.
I think that to focus on our brilliance, there is a lot of negative conversation in our space. And what I feel incumbent on me is to just, and we do this all the time, it's like when we are reflecting, think of the 3 best things first. So you take your business, you sit down at the end of the month, and I do this with my business boot camps. We sit there as a small group and we spend just an hour focusing on 3 brilliant things from the month. And by the time you've done that, the other stuff that you would naturally focus on, which are the negative experiences, start shifting down the pile. Your brain then is like, okay, I actually have had some really good stuff this month. I have achieved this month, and I'm going to focus on those. Now I can think about the bad stuff in a different mindset because there's been good stuff. And we do this on a monthly basis all of the time. And it is amazing that just by someone facilitating that, and I think that's what's really important, whether you're employed or self-employment, you need someone to help facilitate the focus on good reflections. Don't care who it is, but someone to sit down and go, tell us what's been good this week for you. Or I've got nothing. It's been a rubbish week. Now, hang on, come on, let's pick that apart. What's been good? Oh, right. Right. And that's a skill. That is an absolute skill because we're fighting against all of our negative talk.
Yeah. That is a hack, Nicola. Like, I don't know if you realize that, but that's a hack to get us out of rumination, to focus on something that we're happy, proud of, and share it with someone. That's amazing. That's brilliant.
Again, for me, because I hear so much negativity, and I actually find that it saps all my energy. But if I'm sitting with, say, 8 people and each one of them can go, this was good, then all the room lights up, the energy lights up, and it isn't about being so positive that it's ridiculous. It's about understanding that some positive stuff happened in your business, even if it's been a really rubbish week. Something good will have happened. And if we can just hold on to that as much as we're really holding on to all the other stuff, your mindset shifts. And I see it in people. I see their physical, you can see people then going, I can cope with this better because actually it's not all being bad. And we need that, don't we? Whether that's in employment or not. But in employment, we might have a team leader to do that with us. We might have, there's Moira. Hi, Moira. We might have, I don't know, our boss, our team leader, our colleagues sitting next to us who will say to you, come on, let's just focus on the good stuff for a minute. But when you're self-employed, when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have that. You need people to do that with you, personally.
That's 100% right. I wanted to share a poll with you that a friend of mine did, an ADHDer. I think I previously interviewed her, Kim Ollingham. She did a poll on what kind of work would you do if you are an ADHDer, right?
Okay.
Can't remember exactly the word she used, but I think a few of, quite a majority of them said that they would prefer to either be freelance or in work, just because of the structure and stability. And I think a small percentage, maybe like a third, said that they would go for entrepreneurship. And if you were going to tell someone who is a freelancer at the moment, maybe the past business failed, what would you tell them, to go into the world of entrepreneurship? Like,
past business fail that I've learned from. Okay. I mean, do you just want one? This could go on all day. So,
okay. So whatever comes to mind, I'm sure they're brilliant.
All right. My first business, which I set up when I left teaching, I was really, really passionate about females, the environment, and supporting small business. So we used to run an online magazine called Daisy Green Magazine. We used to do events up and down the country, clothes swaps a lot. It was lush. And the thing that I didn't realize was the money piece. So we realized that we need to get paid. We realized that we need money in. But what I didn't understand was the journey to get the money in. So how much marketing it took. Facebook and all that was totally different then. You couldn't just put an event on and invite all your mates. That's not how it worked. So the process of, this is what I'm going to do. So I have to do this much marketing. I have to sell that much stuff. I have to then manage that entire process. But at the end of the day, if there's no money in the bank, I don't get paid. Mm-hmm. And that I didn't realize for a long time, not properly. It just didn't sink in that actually the data that I was scared of was actually telling me the truth of the business. Yeah. And at that time, my mental health was at a very, very all-time low. So there was no money coming in. I wasn't okay. No money coming in made me worse. And so now, I mean, I developed a course on this called Let's Talk About Money because it's such a private thing, but it's really simple. If there's no money in the bank, you can't run your business, right? So we have to work out all the processes to get the money in the bank. And the other thing, I think, for me, that business closed after 5 or 6 years. I was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken. The rest of my life had changed also. But I learned so much from it that now I deliver and have delivered to over 200 people a course about money in your small business. So whilst it was extremely painful, still painful, I love that business, right? My opportunities now are huge because of that. And I know I'm helping other people. I think collaboration as well, if anybody was, we need to collaborate, but I had a conversation 2 days ago about whether collaboration to me means the same as it would do to you. What does collaboration mean to the other person that you want to collaborate with? What do both parties get out of that? Is it honest and open? Are there terms of that collaboration? Or have you just gone, we're going to work together a bit and we'll both get something out of it? It doesn't work when it's not structured and when people aren't upfront with what they want from one another and what they want out of it. When collaboration works, it's the best thing in the world. But for me, it's gone wrong a few times because I didn't put the expectation and the terms and just have that proper honest conversation,
That's good. I'm writing it down. Yeah, managing expectations from the very beginning and having your terms and conditions. Because a lot of people, especially in ADHDers, they jump into it and then they said, "Yeah, we'll devise an agreement, maybe one page," and not even gonna let the lawyer check it, right? And then problems happen, and our RSD kicks in, and no one wants to talk to each other. It's very hard. And and what you said about the money. So true. I'm part of an impact incubator program. Everyone is out to make a social impact in my group, but they're struggling because the money isn't coming in, and it's even harder to ask for money when you are working on a social mission. So many people tend to work for free in the first year. And in fact, I spoke to a very successful charity leader today who said that for the first 3 years of creating his charity, he didn't have any money, because that is the reality of it, because
to ask. I didn't pay myself for 2 years at my first business. I took other jobs to pay myself so I could pay other people, which reflects on where I was in my head and what I thought about myself. And so now, actually with the social enterprise, because it has a mission, because it has a social good, I actually find it easier to ask for money now because I'll just go, I need a donation off you because I'm not taking a profit. It's really strange, but it's an easier conversation for me. And if that incubator, if you want me to come in and do anything for any of them about getting money in,
awesome.
I'm absolutely delighted.
Like we talk about it every session. So
okay, so Moira, who's listening, she is a sales trainer with ADHD.
Oh, right. Awesome.
Okay. So if she's awesome, and but we would happily come in and help everybody learn how to ask to get paid because we deserve to get paid. And that's the thing is, I think when you, especially ADHD, and you maybe don't think you're deserving, you've got all that rejection, you've got all of that lived experience of people saying no to you, and you've taken it really badly, and all the other stuff that comes with it. Then we maybe feel like we don't deserve to get paid, or we don't deserve to be paid well for the work we do. We give so much free time away, but it comes from a place that we don't think we deserve, which is absolutely nonsense. We deserve to get paid as well as we can for the good stuff that we do, as much as anybody else. But the mindset, again, it comes back to our brains and what we're telling ourselves, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That is just like you hit the nail on the head. Everyone wants to make a difference, but we need to get paid as well because how else are you going to sustain ourselves to continue making a difference?
Absolutely. Right? Right. You can't make a difference if you can't pay your mortgage or your rent.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. So we start with what do we need to be able to live so we can carry on making a difference. And that's not necessarily making millions of pounds, is it? That's not having the biggest salary in the world. That is about, if I can cover this and do this and get me started there, then that allows me to live my vision and my dreams and to help the people I want to help.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like the conversation about money, around ADHD is, it can go on for a long time. But I also wanted to share something that happened to me recently. that was because of my ADHD. So I've applied for a few grants. One of it actually I did very last minute in 2 hours, and that went really well. I got a panel meeting. But there was another one that I spent days perfecting, and then I didn't do well. And the reason for that was because I didn't understand the instructions. And how silly is that to get to this point where I'm advocating for people with ADHD and I don't even know how to read instructions? And I tried calling once to ask them to explain to me, but that person was so vague and, not helpful at all, and just trying to put it in because only I would know that my idea is novel. And then in the end, it turned out that I missed a very big point, and so definitely put a break on it, ask for adjustments if needed.
Absolutely. And the thing is you did really well in your 2 hours before the deadline, because we know ADHDers work amazingly well when we're just about to fall off the cliff, right?
Exactly.
So you would have been hyper-focused, really attentive. You've got 2 hours, I've got 2 hours, and yet you get it in and do a really good job of it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it like this now. I'm not going
all
to
the time. Yeah, I would suggest that if you can win your grant because you did it and filled it out in that circumstance, giving yourself 2 or 3 days to fill something out, get confused over it, not be able to follow those instructions, do it 2 hours before.
Yeah.
maybe, because maybe that is how best you work.
Well, exactly. The dopamine floods the brain and you light up in all angles and everything's so clear. It's brilliant. So thank you so much, Nicola. I think Moira here, she's your friend. She said, she said, I think in response to your comment about tracking the positives, and what's working well, she said her business lost traction because she stopped tracking the positive. And it can happen when we're working by ourselves most of the time because we're so focused on doing the next thing. But definitely take stock, stop and reflect. Yeah, that's good advice. Thanks so much, Nicola. And thank you everyone for tuning in from wherever you are. We will be sharing the recording of this episode on ADHD Girls YouTube channel. And I'm also interested to have an open discussion with any organizations or business settings to help deliver their agenda around creating neurodiversity, specifically ADHD in a workplace, and to improve well-being and happiness at work, and productivity and reduce staff turnover. And please get in touch with me if you're interested in having a chat. And thank you, Nicola. Really lovely to have you.